Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with three S's. I'm your host, Chantele Francis, here with my Kellyanne Stan crew. We have Michelle. How are you feeling, Michelle? What is happening? What about this episode?
I mean, what's there to say? Except for everything. I'm just realizing now how smart Matthews is, Kelly Stan. I should have thought of that. It was by far, like last week I said, I think it was my favorite episode of the season. And it pales in comparison to how amazing this episode was. It was iconic, and I'm obviously, like everyone, scared for next week. And obviously I know we're probably going to get some haters too because of what happens. But honestly, it was such a perfect episode. So much strategy actually happened. Yes. And anybody who wants to deny Kellyanne's abilities to be a good player and everything, like they need to rethink some things because Absolutely. She is truly, she just blows my mind every time that I think she can't do something. She does it. So here we go.
Here we go. Matthew, what words do you have to add on to Michelle's accolades here? How are you?
I couldn't be happier, to be honest. I think just to echo, like my favorite episode of the season and a message to the haters. In the past few weeks, a lot of the feedback was, hey, like Danny and Sarah are like making moves. They're making waves, but they're not making good moves. Now, like even the haters can't deny that the people that made the move this week made an incredible move for them. So you can hate them all they want or hate us, but at the end of the day, you can't argue that the move was bad for the people that made the move. And honestly, if you're upset that Bananas is going home, don't worry. Like, he'll be back. Take a breath. He'll be back many more times. Who knows how many more times we'll see Kellyanne and Jody and all these other people. So if you're upset about Bananas leaving, anyone in the chat, take a breath. You'll see him very soon, I promise.
It's the same as like last week. Like I love Wes. And I wasn't sad, like I wasn't freaking out about him leaving because A, I'm like, I know I'll see him around, and B, like, you know, I'm about the season, I'm about the game.
Absolutely. I'm definitely, I was talking with Danny yesterday, so I did ratings with Sarah from Nerdtainment, and Danny after the end, he's like, you're gonna really like this episode. I was like, oh my God. He's like, is this a good one? I'm like, what? He's like, I can't wait to hear your reaction. I'm like, so like I've been like waiting to be able to watch it, and I worked all day today, so I flew, and with Paramount Plus I can't download it on my phone, so I literally had to wait till I got home to watch this episode. And I see you guys both saying like epic, and I you know when people start saying that, you're like, okay, is it really gonna live up? This is like episode 7 Tribal Council of Australian Survivor level of like, it lived up to the hype. And I'm really happy that we got this episode. I'm really happy that people have decided not to just lay down. And I think that Sarah and Danny both kind of started that ball rolling, being like, no, we don't need to be playing their game. I think like that, it really opened the door for people like Kellyanne to feel like they can make this move and don't feel like they're handcuffed into the strategy of Team USA and all the original vets, you know?
Absolutely. They made the cracks evident enough for the Jodys and those people in the middle that I was saying last week are like, because I was like, there's this side and this side of US, but there's also all these other people. And if they can come together and do something, and they were able to do that instead of normal where they're just like, okay, well, there's no chance for us. Like, just beautiful. Start to finish.
Yeah. The best thing about this season is the fact that every single player is a capable player in their own rights. It's like the issue that we find with a lot of modern seasons is people get scared of these vets, but in a situation like this, like these people that are on the bottom per se, like they understand that my vote means just as much as Banana's vote or Jordan's vote. Like I don't care how many times they've won or how many seasons they've done. Our votes are equal, so they're not going to control my votes based out of fear, because I don't fear these people. Like Kellyanne and Jody have
This is
known Bananas before he was Bananas, right?
Yeah.
Like they were
Maybe not
more
Kellyanne, but
successful
Jody
on the
for sure.
show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Jody had won multiple times, I believe, before Bananas had
Well,
ever won.
I think Jody won Banana's first appearance where he went home first and she
Yes.
won that season.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the duel 2.
Yeah, it's like, why does he
One?
not have like? I mean, he does respect the OGs. I shouldn't say that. He does with a lot of them, but it's like with someone like Kellyanne. I mean, that not to skip, but like that moment at the end where she's like, Bananas has thrown me in every single time we've ever been on the same season.
No, Kellyanne said that. I think.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Part. Oh,
yeah, that's what I mean.
They said Jody. Sorry.
No. But I mean, like in general.
Yeah.
But like Kellyanne, when Kellyanne said that, I was just like, right. He just, if he thinks someone isn't relevant enough or isn't like gonna help him and isn't a tool he can use at all, like he just won't even bother and he will just continue to throw those people in, and he doesn't think there's ever going to be repercussions, and if they are, like he doesn't feel like they're founded, and like that bothers me. Whereas like Wes will play with anybody, in my opinion. That's a difference.
Totally true. And I think that this was a wake-up call, hopefully for these future seasons that are going to be blended, right? Because now, like what they've been really comfortable in the last like 5-7 season of the MTV version is like, okay, we got our alliance together. We know we're not going to vote each other out. We'll just make sure we all get to the end. And that's what they've been kind of resting on, not having to strategize, not having to bring numbers in, not having to do anything, because they always had the power of numbers. But now they can't rely on that anymore because people are going to watch this. USA 2, well, maybe not USA 2, they won't see this episode, but like it's going to be a little bit different now that like people are willing to say like, hey, do you know what? I want to have a shot at this game. I don't want you to have a shot. I want to have a shot. And so I'm hoping it's going to change the ethos and like the methodology of all these new players being like, they're not invincible. Let's go. Let's attack. Let's come together and like take them out.
And actually make social alliances. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wonder if something that might happen now is if like people like Tori, if Tori like comes into next season and decides like, hey, I got to separate myself from Bananas because people don't like Bananas. And for the most part, like I think people in the house like Tori. I don't think she's like hated by the people she's with. And to be honest, like even the last couple weeks, there were some things that Tori was doing that I thought she was doing very well. Like she was more of a calming presence. And then Bananas comes in and like things have just been escalating. And I wonder if Tori's going to look at it and be like, hey, like I like Bananas, but like he's not great for my game because a lot of people don't like him and there's a massive target on his back. And if I'm working with him, that target's coming to me. So maybe like Bananas is not the best path anymore.
Well, I mean, like, and I'm not, he has been not fully outcasted, but he's had moments, right?
Yeah.
After the Sarah season that where he was eliminated early and so it's he's experienced that too, but it's just interesting to see that like you can have those relationships and still build other relationships with people in the house. So like these Australian teams, like why hasn't Banana been massaging the relationship with Yes and like all these different people, and like,
well,
that's what
relied on Emily and Sarah, and then I think he was massaging,
but he wasn't relying on them because he was making fun of the fact that Sarah was getting along with the Australian and why are they working with Australia at all, and like he hates Sarah and he hates Danny, so it's like it's just, why would you not try to foster all possible relationships in the house as well as have your big group?
He hasn't had to, right?
It's
this
just
is the first time he's like, oh wait, I can't just coast to the end with my big group of an alliance. Like what? Like people are gonna come and have a revolt and turn on me? What? So hopefully this gets him a little bit, become like a bit of the player that we enjoyed, at least when he was like making moves and making things happen. I think he just got too comfortable, and it was very, very, very satisfying seeing him officially shook. Speaking of shook, apparently, Matthew, you say that you have are at the top of the leaderboard here with Twitter.
I haven't
What's
looked
going
yet.
on?
Let's check out the hashtag.
Let's see. Hashtag the Challenge World Championships. We got at the top here.
2 in a row.
Sorry? You're gonna read
2 in a row. I'm right under as well.
Oh,
Hey,
look
wait.
at you go. Read it out loud, Matthew. These are your words. Let's hear it.
Okay, so Tori and Bananas vote for. Sorry, scroll up. I think there's a part.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh,
Series of
okay. So yeah, the series of events over the last few weeks. 1, Tori and Bananas vote for Kellyanne. Vote Kellyanne into elimination every week. Then this week, we need someone to vote with us and become the 6th and most expendable member of our alliance. How about Kellyanne? She should be okay with that. Kellyanne. Hell no. Okay, and then next one. Just remember, your vote matters. Thank you for your service. And here are all the people that voted Bananas into elimination. And you know what? I do want to say, I do like Justine, but if this is if we need her to leave for Bananas to get shaken up and to leave as well, I'm sorry, but Justine, you gotta go. She had a quiet edit this season. I like Justine. I would love to see her back, but I do want to give a little bit of love to Justine because I am a fan of hers, but unfortunately, she wound up with a partner that I was not fond of this season.
Yeah, and
yes,
she
thank
wasn't.
You for your service, Matthew, though, with your tweets.
Yes.
I appreciate them.
And I don't think that Justine really had, like, I've gone back and forth with this in my mind after watching the episode, how, like, she wasn't really fighting the way Danny has been with openly, like, against his own partner, being like, no, I'm not just going to let you decide what's going on. She's been allowing Bananas to take charge, but she didn't really have a choice in a way, but it's like she could have thought perhaps, but I wonder what that would have really accomplished. It's also not really her style, but then again, it hasn't really been Danny's style in the past, and he's kind of changing it up. So I wonder what could have maybe been affected if she had been maybe a little bit more vocal, or maybe there's things they just didn't show. Because she obviously was on the side of like Sarah and Danny and them, but she just like wasn't really able to be active in that. I do wish their votes were separate. Honestly, I wish everyone's votes were separate, but that's just a side note.
And this actually episode, it seemed like all the MVPs were the ones that called it out. So maybe that's how it was the whole time. We just didn't notice.
I don't know. No, it's been, I don't know.
So
I feel like it's like they just rotate who like says it, but from what I understand, like they have to agree on both teams that they're really I think someone mentioned that in a podcast last week. But yeah, it doesn't really make sense because like each team has 2 votes. Why not just give each person one vote instead of
and they can even do the same person if they want. Like,
yeah,
it's strange.
Very
Still haven't
weird.
figured out why. Maybe they'll mention that on like Bananas' podcast. Is he going to interview himself? What's going on? Is he going to be on the challenge official?
I'm sure.
I don't know if he'll be on the official one. He'll definitely do one on his channel, but I don't know who it would be because Justine already was on a few weeks ago. So maybe Jordan.
Maybe, yeah. So, we start off this episode, the New World Order, which I'm like, okay, people are taking over the season. So I'm really excited about that. Like, I understood what was going to be going down this episode from the title here. We see Justine and Bananas on the swing, talking about how their communication is on point. I was like, okay, famous last words when they go home. I already had a feeling like this was going to be like the beginning of their downfall. And I was like, ooh, okay. So Kellyanne and Tristan, they pull in Jody and Benha. And I love this scene. That's like, okay, finally, why does it take everybody so long to like come together and be like, we don't need to be pushed around here and like just get out all the people that don't matter and just get out everybody on the outside and let those big numbers stay together. So I was like, yes, Kellyanne wants to get the numbers and break up Team USA. Were you guys pumped at the beginning of this episode?
Extremely pumped. I think like just the fact that they're having this conversation was like so crucial to not only this season, but like you mentioned earlier, to everyone watching for future seasons. It's like, hey, if like there's two rookies that like last season, Olivia and Horacio were being thrown in all the time because they were like strong rookies and they didn't have numbers. That's always going to be the case, but like it doesn't have to be the case. Like work with the other people and like let them know like, hey, once I'm gone, you're going to be the one
You're
that's
next.
every time. So let's work together. Let's get a couple more people and let's fuck the power structure. Like let's cut the head off the snake. Um, so yeah, when they had that conversation, I was like super pumped, and I was starting to get the sense like you were that like okay, somehow like Bananas and Justine are going to be in trouble here. The part that I didn't expect was Jordan and Kaz coming in last in the daily, which was like the fact that that ended up happening, which we'll get to obviously. That was the crazy part. But yeah, like I was definitely excited about the downfall that I could sense coming with Bananas there.
Yeah, it was definitely impeding doom. I was like, oh boy, this is, they're on this swing and they just have such a lovely relationship and like they love working together. And then we hear them like plotting against like Team USA. I'm like, uh-oh, it's not going to end well. So Tori feels defeated by her relationship with Danny, and she's saying this to Justine while Bananas was eavesdropping. It's just like, Bananas, you don't need to eavesdrop on this conversation, but I guess it was showing that he's like lighthearted. Like, I don't even know why he was doing this.
It's just not, I mean, it's a bit, and I'm not like mad about it, but like it didn't really add anything. Also, it's just like, you think about the like Justine, like Sarah and Theo. Theo's like best friends with Bananas at this point, or had like from what we've heard. Sarah, obviously, he hates her. They're not working. They're fakely working together. Yet Sarah and Theo seem to have a good working relationship. Justine and Bananas have a decent working relationship, it seems. So it's like Tori as the legend, if she's the experienced one, if she's the legend, if she knows whatever, knows so much more, like she should try to figure out a way to like make it work. Meet him where he's at instead of, fighting him on everything as well. And I understand he's fighting things, but like and they both have a right to argue what they're arguing, but it's just like, I just feel like another partner would have figured out a way to work together and like and especially her being the legend and being like, I have all these relationships. Like, why do you have to say it in that way to him all the time and like try? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's another way around it.
She never really comes and sees things from his perspective.
Yeah,
it's always like, this is my relationship. This is my future. Like, this is my experience.
Yeah, it's always like these people have only known each other for such a short time. Okay, well, Emily and Sarah's relationship worked out for her this episode because we knew immediately that they weren't going in, obviously. Absolutely. Because they had that relationship and she didn't bother. So like, you met these people on the challenge. When you didn't know anybody, you met them and built relationships. So that's what you're supposed to continue to do season after season, even if you have your people. You don't just sit back when you have your people. That's boring. Everybody agrees that that's boring. Why are we allowing that to happen? Well, we're not now. So
we're
that's
not.
I'm excited about.
So what do you prefer, Justanas or Bustine?
I like Bustine.
Me too.
But Justine didn't seem to like that one as much.
It reminded me of Bettina.
So Danny V here doesn't trust Ben, and Ben isn't really one to trust, but I'm wondering what's going to happen, if there's more going to happen with this, because I guess we do find out what happens with that, but Danny just does not trust Ben at all. I hope they get a chance to be on another season together again, because like I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more like rivalry,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm done with Ben. I don't.
That's fine
like,
too.
Ben is like chaotic because like he really like he plays the middle, but he does so in like such a poor way. Where like he's kind of just pissing off everyone instead of like actually like navigating the middle properly. But I just don't like Ben. Like Ben, like he seems like very like not unhinged in a way, and like he kind of like gives me some like weird vibes where I don't know if I want to keep seeing him back. Like obviously he brings something to the table, but from what we hear from everyone else, it's like not very.
He's kind of good.
Yeah, he was okay, I think. It was like really funny when we get to like the voting part, like with Ben. So
Exactly.
I can appreciate like some of the drama he's bringing, but I just don't know if I would love it on like a third go around.
Yeah, I feel you.
Fair. We have friends joining us. Hi, lovable Nikki. Also, Sophie's here, liking the episode. Willie's liking the episode as well. Obviously, Lauren here too. Nervous for Tristan saying he's not feeling well. We're going to get to the previews for next episode.
Jesus.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Sophie, for the super chat. So Sophie says, I heard the second season of The Challenge USA will be Paramount Plus exclusive. I've heard that as well. And I'm wondering if this is why they're taking all these MTV legends to try to get eyeballs onto Paramount Plus. I think that that's why they might be doing it, to build that platform.
I just feel like it's going to be so confusing because then, like, what? Are you still going to do 39 and 40? Because isn't 40 like a big season to do? Like, I don't know.
Maybe it's going to be like really big. Like, maybe we'll be like all the different like winners only from all different franchises or something.
I don't know.
But
doesn't matter. I'll still watch it, obviously. So
yeah, right.
I was actually very excited to see that it was going to be on Paramount, actually, just because there are a few people on the cast that are not very family friendly, and if we can get them on Paramount where they're allowed to like swear, they're allowed to be like crazier, I think it's going to make for a more exciting season. Whereas like and I think anyone that knows the cast kind of knows one of the people that I'm definitely talking about. If he was on CBS, it would be very watered down what shit he'd be stirring. So I'm excited that it's going to be on Paramount, if it is.
The only reason I don't like it being on Paramount Plus is because I'd rather it aired at 8 p.m. instead of like 3 a.m. where like I had to start dodging spoilers like from 3 o'clock in the morning. I just wish that it would just come on at one time in the evening, and then stream after, whatever. But like I just wanted to start at like 8 p.m. as opposed to 3 a.m. But other than that,
for sure.
I'm down with having unfiltered people on the season. How do you feel about Amber playing matchmaker with Theo and Kaz?
I mean,
I was happy to see some of them.
Yeah, I'm happy to see them. Kaz seems like a good personality, decent personality. It wasn't an exciting scene.
She does say though that Theo's her number one though at the end, but don't tell him that.
Yeah. Every time I see Amber now, like I'm just scared. I'm like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? So I just feel like it's a ticking time bomb. So
scary. So the Castle of Good Hope is where the daily is going to be had. The legends are going to have a day off, and so they're going to be racing underneath these kind of sewers or underground tunnels, while the legends are going to be locked up. In the tunnels, there's going to be different flags. You're going to have to count the flags and then use the number of flags to complete a math equation. The numbers that are going to be at the end are going to be the numbers to unlock the lock, to unlock the legends. I really like this daily, but Jorge did not. What are you guys thinking?
I'm with Jorge. I actually hated this daily. I think like it's something that would be really fun to do,
but not to watch. Okay.
Yeah, like to watch. Like I hate the dailies where it's like these math equations where you can't even see, like as a viewer, you can't really see the equation for the most part. Or if you can, you have to like pause it and like do it yourself. Like I like a daily where I can watch it and understand what's happening.
Who's doing well, who's not doing well.
I'm with Jorge.
Fine.
I definitely did not love this daily. I'm glad that it went by fairly quick, and like again, like I think it would have been fun to do, but not very enjoyable for me to watch.
So they had 45 minutes and they're going to be going 2 teams at a time, or 2 MVPs at a time. First up was Sarah and Benha. They decided to work together. I did find it funny when Jody was standing with Theo, because Jody was like, oh yeah, like I'm really, really nervous here. And Theo's like, it's probably because you don't have any faith in your partner. And she's like, do you want me to just turn around there and kick you in the nuts? Because I could. I was like, yes, give him some sass there, Jody. Happy about that. So Theo and Sarah are done first, and Benha does end up timing out. So that actually sucks that he wasn't able to come through with a win, at least against Theo and Sarah there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was pretty nervous there when they timed out. Just like,
Yeah.
obviously, like, I'm assuming they're going to go into elimination there.
I'm
It's
like,
like, it's kind of
no.
boring.
Right? I was like, don't be last if you're trying to like have a revolution here. Please.
Hmm.
How'd you like Ben versus Danny down there working
Ooh.
together, but not sure if they're working together or if they're sabotaging each other? So it's like, spy versus spy, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, like, who's going to get who first. So I like that part.
I liked it, but I agree. Like I didn't hear everything, but I agree. Like it just wasn't like the most exciting daily. But I was happy that it went by fast because there was more important things to get to.
Did you laugh at the cockroach conversation? That was
Ugh,
that was
no.
closed captioned. It was so stupid.
It was very dumb.
But someone was like, I gotta put this in there. So
Something
dumb.
I noticed during Ben and Danny, and I'm curious if I mean if Danny's listening now or in the future, like feel free to let us know. But I noticed Danny was not sprinting. He was like a light jog, and
Yeah.
I wonder if Danny thought it was more important for him and Tori to have a vote than
Yeah.
to be in power because he knew that they weren't going to be in last because Jody had timed out and Jody and Ben had timed it out. It
Mhm.
seemed to me like Danny was not trying to beat Ben because if it
Yeah.
was just a foot race, like Danny surely would have won. But I'm curious to know if he preferred to have his vote and not be in power than to be the final decision maker.
Yeah, I wonder that
I
too.
didn't think about that till now. I remember thinking like, oh wow, he let Ben win. I was like, interesting. I felt though he let him win. So
Yes, that's what
it
it
could
seemed like
be,
to
He was
me.
jogging. He was not running.
Yeah.
yeah, not breaking a sweat whatsoever. But it did seem like he just wanted to finish and knew he wasn't going to be in last. So you might be right there with them just wanting to be able to have more control in the vote as opposed
And I do
to,
think, like, given the format, it actually makes a lot of sense where it is almost more valuable to be in that middle section where you have the vote, especially if you feel safe. Like Danny and Tori are pretty well insulated on all sides. So for them, I think definitely like you want your votes more so than to like have to piss off someone. And Tori and Danny realistically are probably not going to agree anyways if they were to get power. So if that is what they were doing, I actually back that move. I
I'll
think,
back it.
Yeah,
but
because
we'll see if
having someone from your alliance winning and losing both would completely screw your alliance. You've got no chance of the votes. They're gonna like vote in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it's actually better. I agree to
zero
have more
control.
votes.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why this episode worked out so perfectly the way it did,
Right.
because we lost Jordan and Kaz's vote, and we also lost Yes and Emily's vote. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
both things worked to our advantage. Well, just for Kellyanne's advantage, I suppose. But it was just I wasn't happy to see Yes and Emily win at first until I kind of thought about it a little bit more and was like, right, with the votes, this is actually kind of blessed.
yeah.
Exactly. But
Because like he doesn't trust Emily, but like she's not voting, so she's more likely to vote with this new group with Kellyanne and them because Emily's not a part of it. So she doesn't have to worry about trusting her or not.
yeah, she just has. Well, they just had the exact right. The only time that they could have made this move right
Yeah.
now is because they had basically two sets of votes that weren't going to be against them.
Yeah.
So they were trying to make it a stalemate, So Kiki and Justine versus Justine. Kiki gets out first. Emily and Tristan. Emily versus Tristan, and Yes is basically a human calculator here. I mean, I agree with Dolores. It's not just you, Dolores. They were not hard math problems at all. But people were very impressed. I mean, I was impressed that she's just like rattling out, little equations, and he was able to say them, but they weren't that hard.
I can't do math in my head anymore. Like
Even basic like timetables up to like 12.
No, like some of them, yes. Some of them I can do, but I'd have to think about it for a little bit. Like I'd have to be like, right, it's okay. Like I wouldn't be able to just shoot out the answer. I'd probably have to think for a sec, but I wouldn't be as terrible as Kaz. Like I would be able to do the problems. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So Lauren's saying the daily would have been better if one person looked for the symbols and the other person did the math. I guess you just tell them, being like, "Hey, this is the symbols, like whatever for Argentina is 7 and blah blah blah." I guess that would work.
Yeah,
At least the other people would be interactive.
I think that would be much better. It kind of similar to the one last season where like one person had to like find the shapes of the puzzle and then the other person had to create the puzzle. Like I think the part of the reason I didn't like this daily is like one person essentially did nothing. So like obviously yes did something where like a lot of the other vets didn't, but for
and
the
Jordan
most part,
helped
it's
out
like
Kaz with like something very basic. What was it like 6 times 4 or something? Like it was very
6 times 7.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
He didn't help her enough, that's for sure.
No, well, he got worried when she was asking a grade 3 math question.
Yeah.
So Kaz versus Troy, and this was bad. Like they both had to go back into the tunnel.
Oh man.
And then Troy does end up finishing and Kaz actually DQs. I was like, whoa. And then I was like, oh yeah, we did see that scene with Kaz and Theo, so they're gonna probably be in the hot seat. That was my thought there. Sophie's saying, I think the daily was a test to see how the MVPs would handle a challenge by themselves if they do split the pairs up at some point.
But I mean, they've done challenges in the past where one person does nothing and they're just tied up somewhere. Like this isn't the first time something like this has happened. It's never amazing because it's not really about teamwork mostly, but it is something that I feel like they've done.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're going to be splitting up. I think we only have 4 episodes left or 3 and then the final. So, or 4, whatever, 3 or 4 episodes left. I don't think that we're going to split up. There's not enough time left and there's still 9 teams left. So,
sorry, I just got this comment. Hilarious.
So, and Lauren, I'm with you. Like, I don't like Sarah's personality either. And I didn't like Sarah on Survivor, the last season of the challenge. I just like the fact that she is willing to play the game different than how other people are playing it. And I think whether we like her personally or not, we can still kind of appreciate the fact that she is trying to go against the grain. And I think that's where I stand with Sarah. I'm not a Sarah stan even now, but I am rooting for her.
Would you change your moniker, your name to Sarah Stan?
No, because that's the thing is,
I wouldn't.
Yeah. To stan, you do have to also there has to be more to it. But I agree. And it's funny because it's like if even if Fessy went against the grain actually and either embraced his villainous stuff, acknowledged that he was kind of the worst in an extreme way, made moves, got out big vets, did bold things to get himself into the best position to actually win, I would have to respect that. I might still not love him outside of it, whatever, doesn't matter, but I would respect that. And that's how I feel about Sarah. It's I never thought I would be wow. And I'm not flabbergasted, but I'm really impressed by the tenacity and the strength and the bravery to just be screw this, because my partner also was watching the episode with me today and was but I don't like her, and I'm yeah, I understand.
Nobody does.
I get it, but it's just she's too much, this, that. I'm I understand, but
did he watch the head biting episode last season?
Oh my God. I don't
remember when she was
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I forgot about that.
So Kaz DQ'd, and so Kaz and Jordan DQ as well as Benha and Jody. But the winners, so the top 2 teams were Theo and Sarah and Emily and Yes. And in the end, Emily and Yes, by just about a minute or so, a minute and change, apparently, is how much they beat them by. They're going to win this particular daily. And Kaz and Jordan were in the bottom. Has Jordan ever been in the bottom?
Yeah.
For a daily?
I don't recall.
Usually by something weird. I feel he has before. Not many times. Maybe. I could be wrong.
But I can't think of any time where that he's been in the bottom and have to go directly in.
Well, because that's not always the
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
So I think
Maybe
he's
that's what I'm
been
not
at the
remembering.
bottom. Yeah. But also like Janetta's, I'm dead. Sorry. I also laughed when I initially saw that comment. But honestly, in the moment, I was like, wow, this is actually iconic that Sarah and Theo didn't win this one, because in that moment, I was just like, right, they have their vote still. And yes, and Emily are sketchy vote.
Yeah,
They will go with the
get
big,
rid of
like,
their vote.
yes, she
No,
likes
neutralize
Sarah, but like
Mhm.
they're perfect in this situation where they're not going to save Bananas when it's picking, but they would probably still vote with him, honestly.
Willie says
Yeah,
40
it could have
should be
been.
new school versus old school and be free agents styles.
I love free agents.
Yeah,
Be
free
fun.
agents is awesome.
That would be I mean old school versus new school would be fun. But I think that they
Where
would
do you draw the
set up.
line, though?
Like that means like is Jarnay old school or new school? I think she's new school, but she was on All Star, so is she old school? I'm just like, it might have to be like an age thing. Or like what season, like where your season was like in the years, you know? But I would be into that. So Team USA has a little bit of a group meeting. Banana hates Danny and Sarah. I hope that has Danny been on Bananas' podcast yet?
No.
No, but Bananas did tweet to Danny saying like, "Hey, anytime you want to come on, it's an open invitation."
So
and
they're really not
I mean,
friends.
I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like a playful thing for the most part, but Danny definitely is like a star on Twitter where he'll like call Bananas out on his shit, like calls everyone out on their shit. So I feel like Danny will eventually be on his podcast and like tell his side of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I
or
think
here
so too. But I think like we know that Danny and Jordan have hung out outside of the house. So if he's fine with Jordan, that tells me that he could be fine with Bananas. And that he's probably just not fine with Ben, because from what he messaged me, I think Ben might be the only person that, he actually is like, "Hey, I can't."
I feel like Jordan hasn't really been involved in any of this drama though. So
yeah, that's
obviously
fair.
Danny wants Jordan out, but I think that's more for like competitive reasons. Like Jordan's like tough to beat, but it seems like I don't know, it sounds so weird because like Jordan has this like weird past, but I don't mind Jordan like the last couple seasons he's been on. Like I think he's been like fine. Like he's not bothering me really, but I could see Danny just like respecting Jordan.
Yeah. I agree
too. So this part was probably my most satisfying part of what ends up tumbling down. So how Tori is taking like the lead on strategy here, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna put in Darrell and Kiki, and they're gonna go down against Benha and Jody, and she's just taking the reins of the strategy here. And obviously, I'm not a fan of Tori, and so like it's here taking the reins. It's like, oh yeah, we'll pull in Kellyanne. Like, who's gonna talk to Kellyanne? It's like, oh, I will. Like, I'm just like, okay, go talk to Kellyanne.
And like this, I agree. This was my favorite because I was just like, Kellyanne has already been planning. She's already been planting her little seeds. And here you are discounting her again. Just because people are not in the majority of the vote at the beginning of a game that has a lot based in popularity and relationships, don't discount them as people. It doesn't mean that they're dumb. It just means they were not on the right side. They didn't have people. Like, it's crazy to me how much Tori in this moment is like discounting Kellyanne's abilities and her intellect. Like,
oh, she'll do whatever we say. Just so she's
you
not,
should
like...
never assume that. Like, why would you ever assume that about somebody? I was dumbfounded at that moment, but I was so excited. I was like, oh, here we go, girl.
Like, she barely left the room before she turns to Casey there and is like, I don't know. They kind of been saying my name this entire season. I don't know if I feel like being their number. So let's just not do that. And like, I like that Casey wasn't immediately like going to go run off to USA and being like, oh, she's not into
exactly. That's what I was going to say. Is I was like, did Casey not tell them then that Kellyanne said this? She must not have told them. But this was happening like right before the vote, right? Because Tori waited until like an hour right before the vote to be like, oh, by the way, Kellyanne, like this makes sense. This has to be the plan. So that Casey probably didn't really have the chance and probably didn't want to,
work with them.
Like, yeah. And maybe she was like, okay, well, maybe it won't work out and it won't matter anyway. Like maybe, like she probably, again, discounted Kellyanne, even Casey did, and probably thought like, her and Ben probably thought, oh, she won't get the votes she thinks she has.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
And then we'll make our decision then.
Exactly.
But she didn't say anything, which I like.
I did like that.
Kelly, like Casey and Tori are supposed to be like this season besties. Like the fact that Casey didn't say anything to Tori, I was like, oh, that's new. Okay.
I think for me the funniest part of it all was like when Tori and like the USA team was having that conversation and they're like, oh yeah, like we need one more vote. Like it's gonna have to be Kellyanne. Like we'll get Kellyanne. And then I think it was Bananas said like, all right, well, who's gonna be the one to talk to her? And Bananas like, not me. And Tori said, yeah, I'll do it. It's like the funniest part about that whole thing is like, wait, so you as a group expect Kellyanne to want to vote with you when 80% of the group is not even willing to talk to her. You're just going to have one person talk to her, and everyone else has been voting her in for the last 6 weeks. What, like, in your minds, like, you guys are vets of the games. Like, Bananas has done 20 seasons, like, Tori's done 10 or whatever. Like, all these people have done many, many seasons. What incentive do you think Kellyanne has to join you when you're not willing to talk to her and you've voted her in every single week up until this 1 week where you need her? So the fact that like they thought this was going to work was just very, very funny to me.
Yeah. And then they were so offended when she didn't warn them and changed her vote. Like, that is what the game is. Are you serious?
Suckers.
Like I can't believe they didn't even think there was a possibility.
But like, it's like you split votes in Survivor for just in case someone has an idol. Like, you got to think that, okay, what if everybody on the outside comes together and goes against us?
Because what, do they all think that they're just sitting down? It's probably because they discount them all. They discount Darrell because Darrell, to be fair, in the past wouldn't make a move and wants to stay in the background. But in this case, it worked to his advantage. And he was like, you know what? Screw it. I also loved that moment of Darrell being like, yeah, you know what? I was like, yes, I actually screamed.
Yes,
at the TV.
Like,
oh my God.
I'm rallying the troops here. And like, Darrell's like, F these guys. I'm like, yes.
I can't even tell you guys how nervous I was when Kellyanne went up to Darrell. I perked up in my seat. I'm like, oh my God, Darrell is going to say like, I can't do this. And he's going to pussy out. And then when Darrell said, you know what, like, fuck it, I'm doing it. Like, if they think they can throw me in, I'm like, yes, Darrell, this is what we've been waiting for years.
Literally.
So, oh my God, I was so happy. I think MVP this week is going to be pretty obvious, but I do want to give Darrell an honorable mention because I was very impressed with him there.
Yes, like he actually was like, right. And it's great because then when it all panned out, they all vote and they say his name. So it just was like, yep, that's confirmation of what I was told. And it all worked out perfectly.
Well, and then nobody cared about him, right? Like, they didn't tell him that he was going to be the vote. Like, it doesn't seem like they warned him. No. And he wasn't obviously okay with it. And so it was so satisfying when when they started off, with like the Benha and Jody and Darrell and Kiki. And we're like, okay, so those names are going. Theo following suit, Justine following suit, and then Tristan and Kellyanne, Sarah and Theo, Bananas and Justine, and they were just like it's just like all the blood rushed out of their face, and they like not a smile left in that group. Oh, Kiki says the same. Sarah, Theo, Bananas, Justine, Benha, Troy, all saying the same, and they were shooketh.
Oh, it was so good.
And even in that moment, we get a confessional from Danny being like, I respect Kellyanne's move here. Like,
see, like he respects it. Like, and he wasn't even in on the plan. How can you say that he's being like, not being like a strong player? Like, he's recognizing where the game is and he's not being butthurt over it. All of his thoughts and like his energy, I think, has been totally valid, and like I think it's just amazing that you got to witness this. I've been waiting for Darrell to come through like this we all have for so long, and I always knew he had it. I always did.
Thank you, Darrell. Thank you.
you.
We can start picking you again at like top tier draft. You know, like you've proven that you still got it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Benha and Casey are the last vote here, and they're nervous about a stalemate because last time there was a stalemate, they got thrown in. So if it was a stalemate with Emily and Yes being the name, who do you think they would have thrown in? It might have been Ben and Casey, right?
I think it still would have been Bananas and Justine, but like it would have been.
You think
like there would have been that drama?
Team USA there, like that?
I think so. Yeah, I think they would have.
I think it's possible, but I think that I don't know. I kind of think that they could have. There's a high chance of Ben and Casey is what I thought, and then I thought there was even a chance that they get convinced to just do a Jody Benha, like maybe maybe they get pressured or something like that. But I was thinking it is a likelihood that it could be Ben and Casey, especially since they already got thrown in. But then I was like, it could be Jody. But it was great because they would have had to do both votes on like Kiki and Darrell and Jody in order for it to be a stalemate. And so even the fact that they were like, no, screw that, they choose to vote Sarah and Theo, and then they burn their other vote. I just thought that was so funny because them doing that is still throwing Justine and Bananas in. So you're still not protecting them because they already had 4 votes over the 3. But it just showed that you obviously don't care about Sarah and Theo, right? Like that's what that showed. You're like, I'm willing to throw them in. Oh, but we'll burn it on Kellyanne and Tristan or whatever they said. Like that.
Yeah, they burned it on Kellyanne and Tristan, but they did say Sarah and Theo. And
that made me laugh. Like
fired.
You didn't need to say either of their names. You could have literally stayed USA strong, but been like, hey, like we can't risk a stalemate, so we're just gonna burn both. But no, you said Sarah and Theo. Like you idiots, trolls in the dungeon.
Well, I think it was to maybe appeal a little bit to like the new world order that's happening. So saying it like, hey, we didn't want a stalemate, but we want to show that we're with you here, okay? Like we're still getting what we want here without us potentially being the person that gets thrown in. So I think that was just to save face with Kellyanne and crew.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that you guys think that Yes and Emily wouldn't have put in Bananas and Justine. I feel like just the fact that like this like the like misfits like came together, like I feel like Yes would want to be a part of that.
But Emily, well, no, she loves Sarah, so maybe I don't know.
Yeah, like I feel like Sarah would have like talked to Emily.
Of everyone in the game, I don't think that she's going to go against anybody from Team USA and against Australia at this particular moment. I just don't.
Ben and Casey is still USA.
Well, only because they have beef with them and they know that Team USA are pissed with Ben and want to cut them out. Because
why does Emily and Yes have? Why do Emily and Yes have beef with?
Didn't they say
Ben
their name?
But I feel like Ben and Casey's beef is with like Danny and Sarah more so. Maybe a little bit. No,
but
with
they
Emily.
did vote Yes and Emily that one time,
and they would have gone down.
And they would have gone in the elimination. The vote with Kellyanne, yeah.
Anyways, I think that they.
I'm curious. I hope we find out what they would have done at some point. Yes is not very active.
Challenge fan 2001, says Emily said on Twitter if it was a stalemate, she would have put Ben and Casey.
Emily did say that she would vote for Ben and Casey every week. So
okay, so if that's the case, then actually good move by Casey and Ben by not letting it be a stalemate.
Fair. Like they had to do it, but I just thought it was funny the way they did it. Like Sarah and Theo, like that was funny.
Yeah. Yes. So what else happened here? So yes, Kaz doesn't want to go up against Theo because the vote is going to be like they were shooketh upstairs in that deliberation observatory where it's like Bananas and Justine's name comes up and Theo and Sarah being like, whoa, we have to choose between two USA teams here. Obviously, Emily's going to save Theo and Sarah. And so, I mean, Kaz was a little bit shooketh, but Emily was like, I think you're going to be okay. I think she's kind of like nodding to her that like, I'm not going to throw in Sarah and Theo. Don't worry. You won't have to go against him. So Team USA is going to be broken up for sure. To a certain extent anyways, with the fact that like they were not on the same page, like they have two of their people potentially like at risk here. And then we get a club night and the Misfits are dancing. They are having a good time. And this is where Jody and Benha had what a satisfying confessional they had. They must have felt so good. I felt good for Benha because like it must not feel good being on the bottom. And like Jody obviously not loving being his partner just because like she has no power in this game, and then their numbers were dwindling so easily and they're getting thrown in all the time. And so having this little win must have been such a bonding and satisfying moment for both of them.
Yeah, and like especially since it seemed like they were gonna have to go in. I was convinced of it. Like when they were losing, I was like, why? Like, what's so great about this episode if they have to go into elimination?
Yeah.
And then it didn't work. It didn't happen that way, and that made me feel really hopeful.
And then we got a gazillion confessionals and moments between Justine and Bananas, and I was like, oh, okay, you're going to be so proud of me. I'm so great at eliminations. Like, start happening. I'm like, oh boy, this isn't going to end well for sure.
I mean, at least they knew they were going in.
Yeah, they had a pretty good feeling. Bananas is saying that they're the Avengers versus the little rascals. I mean, it kind of, but it's like the Avengers are kind of bumbling a little bit.
And also, like, of course he sees himself as the hero every time. Like, what? I don't know. And don't you want to be a little rascal? Like, I don't know. That whole thing, I was like...
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, he does resemble an Avenger. I mean, the Hulk with his, like, veins popping out of his neck when he's getting mad at everyone. He is a little Hulk-like, but... yeah, the Avengers are typically more heroic, and I feel like majority of the fan base is probably rooting for the other side, I would presume. And no offense to anyone in the chat that is rooting for the Banana side of things, but I feel like majority is probably rooting for the underdogs.
I was torn. Like, to be honest, we're getting there in 1 second. So Banana says he's 2-0. He's won against Jordan in eliminations. And I was like, and I wrote down, I'm like, it's about to be 2-1. He's too confident here. I'm like, this balloon's going to be popped for sure. So we got Kaz and Theo making up and kind of just like putting a little button to their story just in case one of them doesn't come back out of the arena. And so we get to the arena, and Yes and Emily are up there, and of course they're not going to say Sarah and Theo, so Bananas and Justine are going down against Jordan and Kaz in an elimination called Lock, Stack, and Barrel. I thought that was a nice play on words. That was a nice little pun. I was into it. Where basically they had these big barrels that had answer keys on it that were pieces of all the different flags. And they're going to have to use that as an answer key and replicate these barrels. So physical attention to detail, which we hear Bananas say loud and clear. And then I remember seeing the sun from the Argentina flag. And I'm like, that frown doesn't look right. I just remember thinking that frown doesn't look right. And then we see Jordan putting up the frowned, sun, and Tori being like, attention to details. And like, I kind of just rolled my eyes there just because I was like, I would have loved them both to be stuck at that and like not know what the friggin' thing is and see who was able to figure out that it was like this frown and the smile and the sun. But Jordan did flip that pretty quickly. And Bananas and Justine, they thought they had it. they got
Well,
their
it
Darrell
looked
in.
so similar. Like,
Mhm.
if you didn't know, only like honestly, Jody and Benha would have won because of that if they were in there, unless someone warned someone else, kind of thing. But like, it was tough to see, and it was iconic because, like, obviously, I don't know. In the situation, I wanted Bananas to leave compared to Jordan and Kaz.
Agreed, but like I was just annoyed that like
Yeah.
Tori like had to like pipe in to help out Jordan. It's just like just let him win or lose on his own. Like get out of here, Tori.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just was, like how we're just like we don't want to see
Yes.
people helping people out. Like this one, I just really wanted to see them do it on their own without having any additional help from the peanut gallery. Even if the
Yes.
outcome was the same, I would have just loved them both be like, "What's wrong?" and like, slam it, like, "What's wrong?" Like try to fix it, figuring it out, and like having that pressure of like, "Oh my god, we both have it, but we don't know what's wrong." Like that would have been, I think, really exciting.
Mhm.
Even if the outcome was the same, but still, this outcome was wild. Kaz and Jordan do end up winning because nobody helped Bananas, and he was salty about it.
That was amazing because he was mad that people knew and didn't tell him the answer, whereas like last season, um Bananas was saying like, "Oh yeah, like this is the game. Like people help who they want and they don't help who they don't want." And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, nobody helped you because I guess they didn't want you to win, man. So it was fine last season when like all these people were either getting help or not getting help, but
Mm-hmm.
now like you're not getting any, and you're a little upset about it. So which is it?
It's Bananas going home, and Kaz feeling though that she's finally part of the challenge, which I think that's pretty cool though. Like I would, if I were on that show, there's a few highlights and landmark moments that I really would want to have. I definitely want to go down and come back from an elimination. I would definitely want to, well, obviously win a season. That'd be amazing, but and win a daily. But like it just would be something that I would really want, just to say that like, yeah, I've gone down and I've come back up. So I've proven that I'm welcome to be here to a certain extent. So yes, Willie, he is a bitter banana.
So it's funny. I think the last two eliminations that Bananas has lost have been like somewhat math-based eliminations, where there was the one with Zach in War of the Worlds 2, where he had to do something with a map. I can't remember what it was exactly, but
Right.
and this one it's like slightly map related or flag related. So he seems to struggle with anything that has to do with countries.
Countries and light bulbs
Oh yeah.
and we should go, actually maybe I'll make that a game for Drew. Like what eliminations has Banana lost? Well, that's pretty much it for this episode. We learned that Tori is at rock bottom here because she didn't get her way and they couldn't move on them, but like it's not what I wanted. Losing her numbers for Team USA. Too bad, so sad. And then we also see next episode Tristan feeling sick. Uh-oh.
But Ben also
Ben getting checked out by the medic, and
Yeah.
Amber I've never felt like this before. I don't know what.
But like I will say, like I'm terrified, obviously, for what's going to happen if Kellyanne does all this iconic stuff and then has to go. But like you've got Amber, we know what's going to happen with that, whether it happens in that episode or not. But Ben's going away looked more official than Tristan's. Like Tristan seems sick, and maybe both of them have to go. Maybe they both have COVID. But it seems like Ben's was worse. So I'm going to hold out hope
It's his shoulder. That's creeping back up.
But he seems sick. Like he was like vomiting. It said like retching and like blah. Like I think he's sick.
Oh.
Like I don't think it's a shoulder thing. Like I don't think he makes it to the daily.
Man. Okay, so let's loosely speculate as to what we think is going to happen. So, because like, okay, so say Ben's out of the game. So we have Casey as a free agent. Then with Amber's out of the game, then we have Troy as a free agent.
And Kellyanne, potentially.
And Kellyanne as a free agent. So Kellyanne, Casey, and Troy would still be available potentially.
I think it would depend on order. Like, say Ben has to leave first, and then Amber leaves, and then Tristan leaves, then Kellyanne would be more likely to be invited to stay with Troy, I feel. Whereas if Tristan leaves before...
Hear, like, I haven't looked at Drew's breakdown shot by shot, that it looks like somebody else might be making a reappearance.
No? What, like Jonay?
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that what people were speculating?
I was speculating that back when she just got eliminated, because I was like, oh, well, if Amber's thing happens in the next 2 weeks, Jonay would get brought back. But if, like, Kellyanne's partner and Casey's partner are leaving, why would you not bring one of them back? Like, that makes even less sense.
What if they bring back Bananas or something?
To be with one of the girls, but then there's still an extra girl. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's still an extra girl. So, like,
say Ben goes, maybe Bananas comes back to replace Team USA.
No, they wouldn't put Ben with Casey. No, but you've got two
legends beside each other. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, that's true. That's right. You're right. Anyways, I don't know what's going to happen.
No, none of that really.
If I had to guess, this is my theory, is that people are going to get sick next week, and then they're going to take like a bunch of tests or whatever. And when they take the tests, they're going to realize that Amber's pregnant. And then I think Amber will be the only one to leave. I feel like the Ben and Tristan stuff is just to kind of like fake us out a bit in the preview. But I don't know. Like, I guess like John A was the last like female legend to leave the game, so like, maybe she could come back. Maybe Troy is just forced to leave the game at this point because like we only have a few episodes left. Like, would suck for Troy, but I don't know. Like, I don't see like 3 people leaving. I think that would be like pretty crazy this late in the season. But yeah, Ben's did look pretty bad.
Yes, well, we will see. We will see. So, hands down, Kellyanne Stan MVP of the episode with an honorable mention for Darrell.
Yes,
is that the vibe?
I mean, we could do a few honorable mentions, but it's like, yeah, Kellyanne like dominated this episode.
She
had no power, and she made her power.
Yeah. And no matter what, this is going to make sure that the rest, like, that they're just going to be scrambling. Like, Tori's going to be like, I don't know what to do now.
And they could have just thrown in Kellyanne as a second number, as they always did in the before, but they were like, no.
Let's use her.
We'll use her to put an Australian team in there. Knowing, like, I don't know why they made the decision. It's all about underestimating.
Yep.
That's the name of the game.
Yep.
And honestly, like for Tori and like Casey and like the US side, I honestly wouldn't even be that worried if I were them. Just like based on the format of the season, all that really matters at this point is like who comes in last, who comes in first. Because like either way, you're gonna have at least 2 votes or 3 votes to put someone in the bottom 2. So if you can like just like win power and don't come in last, or like even if you do, like just don't come in last essentially. Like if someone on the other alliance comes in last, even if you get thrown in, you can take out one of their numbers. So if Tori and Danny get thrown in against, say, Jody and Benha, like they're going to be favored to win. So like, yeah, you can be a little nervous, but I wouldn't be that nervous if I were them. Just like the format of the season is very favorable to like not be steamrolled.
Mm-hmm.
Should we have an LVP moving forward?
No, they don't deserve points.
No, it would be like negative points.
Negative points.
I mean, I could add it on, or we could add it on for next season, having an LVP who sucks so bad that they're stealing points from you.
Oh my god.
Well, it was really fun talking to you guys about this episode. Is there any last points that you want to chit chat about before we call it?
I think that's it. Really fun.
Yeah.
So fun.
I'm reading some of the tweets now. Yeah, really fun episode. Just a classic.
Yes, Dan,
Yes.
and we gave you props saying like you and Sarah were the ones that
and
like opened this door for them to like make a damn move and not be sitting ducks. Absolutely.
honestly, all of this talk of like they're just all talk and they're doing nothing. It's like talk is what gets things started. People are too scared to talk. Things don't happen. What Danny and Sarah and them have done in the past few weeks set the stage for what Kellyanne was able to do. And so you can't discount that. Like, you just can't. It wouldn't have happened because there wouldn't have been these very obvious cracks. For Jody and Darrell, people who are calm, players who don't take risks, it made them feel confident to take that risk because they were like, yeah, okay, I can stand behind Kellyanne because that is true. There are cracks. There are these things. Danny has shown this. Sarah has shown this.
And
like,
they said his name. You know?
And they said his, exactly. So it all like was just perfectly working together. And oh my God, just iconic. I'm just so happy I don't have to watch Bananas anymore this season.
I also think it's like with like the push from like Danny and Sarah, these vets must be thinking like, hey, like if Danny and Sarah, who have only played one season and like don't really know these people, like if they're willing to stand up to these vets, like how are we gonna let the vets decide what we do? Like how are we gonna let Bananas and Jordan and Tori dictate our games when like we have these like rookies essentially who are like fighting back. So like if they're gonna fight back, like if you're at Darrell, Kellyanne, Jody, Amber, like it's time for you to fight back too. Like you have the numbers, you see other people are willing to do it. So like open the game up and like they did that and like they really set themselves up to have a chance now and not be like picked off. So regardless of what happens the next few weeks, like I'm sure this entire alliance or this entire voting block will I'm sure they're not all going to make it to the end, but it's worth it even if like one or two of them get there. Even if one or two of them leave the next 2 weeks, it was still worth it because you showed that this is possible moving forward.
Yes, like
I just read this
the future of the challenge.
I just read this tweet that says sorry, all of this I don't use Twitter, so sorry, but I'm gonna start. She sat down with the president of Paramount Plus and said, I want to make history. And that's what this is. It's just Kellyanne. Like, it's all just so funny. And I'm just, I'm obsessed. What an amazing episode. Thank you.
So good. Definitely best of the season. I think it's really going to shift the rest of
now
all the franchises.
And also, they have a leg up now, right? They've gotten rid of that team. I mean, we'll see about all these sicknesses. Ugh. I mean, if it's just Ben and Casey, that's fine. But obviously, but like, they're going to have the majority now, depending on who wins and who's in the bottom. But like, they're in an even better position now. So this is really good news, I think, especially because Danny's obviously going to be like, okay, great. And like, Sarah's going to be like, hey, great. Like, I think they're probably happy about this. I'm sure they're happy about this, you know? So...
Oh, also, one last thing I want to say is that I loved how Kellyanne like gave props to her sister, being like, I did this for my sister. Like she has viewing parties every week, and like she got to be like, this is for you. Like I love the little kind of breaking the fourth wall there, and like showing that like she knew this was a good move, and it came through. She executed it, and like they're going to be so pumped watching this episode together. I love that.
Yeah. If Kellyanne were to win this season, it would be so epic. Like I don't know, like I don't think I would ever be happier than to see like Kellyanne somehow go on to win this. Like from where she started this season, being thrown in every week, like in the first elimination, and then making this move. If she were to go on to win or even make the final, I would just be so happy to see that play out. And like I'm just so glad she's back on TV the last couple of years. And I've even enjoyed her more here than I did on the 2 All-Star seasons that she did. So I know she was in the mix for like CBS or USA too. I don't think she's on the cast, but like hopefully she'll be back in a larger capacity.
Yeah, and like we love an underdog story, and this is like the most type of underdog story. Like, she couldn't have started off the game in a worse position when your closest friend is the one leading the chase of getting you out, your closest ally, you think, and everyone's against you. And now look at her now, like, just such a boss.
Yes.
I will never get over this. So thank you, Kellyanne. In the past, I have said that my one hang up about her is that she's not strategic. I take it back. I eat my words. I flip flop for forever, because she's just shown me that she can do it all.
Do you know what though? I think that this was the first time that she felt that she could take the risk, right?
Yeah.
And it was like the perfect storm of everything coming together, because I think she has been strategic in the past. But her and Kendall, like, what are they going to do? They can't do anything other than go in and come back out. So they had just like the right configuration of people enough that they could make this move, and she sees that opportunity. And that is what I think makes her a legend, is that she was willing to seize that opportunity. So Kellyanne stan all the way. Sorry that you fell low on our draft here this season, but you proved us all wrong, and we'll be picking you higher up again moving forward, I'm sure. Well, that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this little recap of is episode 7, is that going to be like the best season of like reality television in 2023? Like, because episode 7 here was pretty epic. As I already mentioned, Australian Survivor, that tribal was the best tribal I've ever seen.
Isn't tonight episode 7 of Survivor US as well?
Are we there yet?
I think
is that today? I haven't watched today.
I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't watched either.
I think so.
Well, we'll soon find out, but this seems like a trend, and I'm here for it. So thank you both for joining me, even though it was kind of wonky, our time and scheduling and coming on, but like, so happy to talk about this episode with you both. Thank you, Danny, for popping in with a little bit of tea and really urging me to watch this episode, even though I would watch it anyways, but like, just like got me really excited and hyped for it, and it lived up to the hype. So thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are awesome as well. I'll see you on Friday talking to Drew about this episode, which will be a fun time as well. Please subscribe, like this video, and I don't know, share the best tweet that you've seen about this episode.
There are some great ones.
I
Twitter is funny sometimes, man.
Bonus points if you share my tweets.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Share Matthew's tweet. Share all the best tweets.
This one is funny. It's him with the sad mouth. Sorry.
And we've got a draft to do soon as well. We're coming up on draft season.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, we're getting a draft. It's coming soon. Once we get like a finalized version, it's happening. That's a really good one. I need to see that one live, Michelle. See ya, everybody. Bye.